Hey y'all, this is Dosaaaa from Happy Hour. Today I'm going to be recording alone because Joker isn't here, but I wanted to get some thoughts off my mind and stuff that can maybe help you out. In the meantime, I'm going to be playing this game that I just discovered recently called I Was a Teenage Exocolonist, and I'll just start a new save file with y'all. It's a pretty fun, really chill indie game. It's about growing up in a completely different world, and I don't know, it's a really nice narrative game, something chill to be in the background while we talk. So, let the happy hour begin. Now, what I've been thinking about is, I work in an environment where I see adolescent and teenage relationships flourish, or I just see them in action. And I've also lived a life where I've had relationships come and go. So something that's really been on the back of my mind is, what is the most attractive trait, which is the subject of today's video. What is the most attractive trait that a person can cultivate? And in my opinion, it's not going to be necessarily like the most important. Probably won't be like your physicality, your sportsmanship, your looks, even just like your intelligence alone. I believe the most important, after observing a lot of relationships in my own place of work and my own life, I think the most important thing you can do that's not really touched upon, or at least the nuance that I think it deserves, is dependability. And now, what does dependability look like, right? Because that's, of course, everyone wants to be dependable, right? And I think my friend really said this well. And he said, basically, when you walk into a room, everyone knows it's going to be okay. Like, that's the level of dependability we should all strive for. Now, why I've been thinking about this is because recently in my school, there's this phenomenon in my community. So basically, I work at this place of this location that's in a really poor city in one of the poorest states or locations in my country. And then on top of that, the actual place of work where I work at is like in the heart of the hood. So I see a different kind of definition of what reliability looks like. And there's this kind of cycle that happens in my community with relationships where people who are really hyper masculine, eager to get into or able to get into fights, have something to prove, those are the ones that often get girls. And it's kind of weird. Ooh, a dog. It's kind of crazy because often you don't think that that's the case. Like, you think that's someone who's really hot-headed, someone who's quick to pull the trigger. Like, it comes to that sometimes. Someone who's quick to pull the trigger will kind of be just a stupid person who doesn't really get much attention. But that's not really the case. So I wanted to explore that a little bit. Like, what does dependability look like? So in this context, in quote-unquote the hood, what dependability is going to look like is you willing to risk it all for your name, your reputation, and your girl. In this community, girls, to be frank, often expect that princess treatment. They really want you to, what do they name me? Solana? So yeah, basically, they often expect you to protect them in areas where, like, so in case you're in this type of area, where traditional gender roles are really prevalent. And is this, okay. You might want to work on, like, how do I say this? Honestly, your physicality, your intimidation, physicality, because conflict de-escalation is not really a big thing here. Yeah. And there's a cycle that happens that I've noticed where girls go after hood guys, like gangbangers basically, and they're attracted to that lifestyle. Now, why are they attracted to that lifestyle? It's because often people who are in that life can protect people around them, whether it's because they have weapons, because they have literally a gang that behind them. And gangs, right, usually operate on that, like, mutually assured destruction. If you fuck with me, I'm gonna fuck with you, and then basically a whole war erupts because you decided to fuck with one person. So you better not fuck with anyone, right, in that gang. So that's where some of this thinking comes in, where, like, reliability and dependability comes in the form of who can you protect and how can you protect them, often through violence, because society itself in these areas is inherently violent. Now, super strength. So that's kind of in the hood. What I've noticed is that if you live in the hood, if you're a viewer who lives in a kind of aggressive area, you'll honestly want to work on being intimidating. And I'm not saying to bully people, and I don't think you should. I think that's like stupid, like bullying people or making people feel weak. But I am saying that you should look strong. You should appear to be strong. And other soft skills are probably not as important. I do think conflict de-escalation is very important, but often it is seen as macho to be able to escalate conflicts until the other person can no longer escalate and basically you win, right? So, yeah, and again, the cycle, so going back to the cycle that I've seen is girls will date these gangbangers, they will have a child with them, and then the gangbanger will eventually get caught, right? His days are numbered, and he'll go to jail. Now the baby mama is left with the baby, and she's like, shit, I need to find a father for this, because I can't raise him alone, or raise my child alone. I gotta find a dad. And what happens is, well, where did all the nice guys go? First of all, a lot of the men in these communities just are in jail or on the streets. Not a majority, but a lot of them are. And then what happens is, well, a lot of the nice guys that were in these, schools where they were meeting girls and they were having this impression that, okay, nice guys finish last. It's really these tough, buff, kind of people who are on this, like, adjacent to the street life that get women. Okay, so this nerdy outlook isn't going to work for me. I have to, basically, I'm just looking at these friends, quite adventurous. I have to adopt that lifestyle too, or I have to at least not appear outwardly nerdy, and I have to basically overcompensate or hide certain traits of mine, like intelligence, like eagerness, right? That's where you get the kind of idea of being someone who's nonchalant, someone who's very just nonchalant, right? Or a lot of guys in these communities, they think to look intelligent, to be intelligent, to ask questions is a sign of weakness. And to be aloof and even non-studious and stupid is actually masculine, right? That's what attracts people. And it does, like that stereotype actually is the case in some of these communities, and that's the tragic part. But if you want to navigate in these communities, of course you should be smart, you want to make it out of the hood, right? But at the end of the day, if you want to attract people, you might want to work on, being domineering, having a sense of dominance, frame, just being domineering, honestly, and being very firmly rooted in yourself. Now, on the other hand, in suburbia, where I grew up, what does dependability look like, right? So again, dependability in the hood might look like, can you protect people? Can you provide? So can you basically, while your girl gets a princess treatment, maybe takes care of the kid, you're out there making money, basically by any means necessary. The way you make money is not really judged, which is what leads to, again, to a lot of these issues in these communities. But at least on I work with adolescents, so at least on an adolescent level, it's not really being judged. And I'm just trying to measure my words here so I don't say anything that's too blanket, because I want to give y'all specific advice, but I don't want to be ignorant and give you uninformed advice. So that's with that cycle. So that's what dependability looks like here. Being tough. And gentleness really does come second. And being loyal. Tough and loyal, bold and confident. These are the types of traits right here. If you look at the screen, the game, that's what we're thinking about, right? Bold and confident, Mars, tough and gentle. Probably energetic and loyal, I like. Now let's look at the suburbia side, where maybe a lot of you are actually, right? Based out of when you're watching the video. Dependability looks completely different. It's based on a lot of soft skills. So what that looks like is, for example, for me, I knew that I'll tell you all a story. I was driving with this beautiful girl one day, and she was like one night, and she had, I'd offered to pick her up. She was like, she's down, even though all of her friends were coming. They were coming later, but she wanted me to pick her up that night. We were gonna get there early, get some drinks. And I was a little bit younger at the time, and I almost crashed the car on the way. I didn't actually, and I knew I'm a chill, I'm a drive. I can drive. So I knew we weren't gonna die, but I did make some reckless turns on the highway, and she ended up leaving the car later on that night, when I dropped her off, and she's like, I never want to drive with you again, and she meant it. I never was given the opportunity to pick her up again. She eventually found a boyfriend and stuff. or multiple after me. And what I'm saying is having like literal just like soft skills, like being able to cook. Like there have been times where I've invited people to my house, men and women, and they're chilling so because I can cook for them, or it's a date night and we're cooking together. That's a really like fun, attractive date night, to be honest. What do we want to do? There's red lights. I want to put on a tough face. We're gonna be okay. But yeah, building soft skills like cooking that brings people together. Even learning how to drive properly. I also notice a lot of these hood communities, or a lot of these, I shouldn't just say hood communities, but communities that lack public transport, and they do tend to be more remote and sometimes impoverished. Learning how to drive is like essential, and I don't think suburban kids get that. There will be kids who are 18, 19, including me. Like, I completely messed up. That's why I'm sharing this. I don't want y'all to go through this. People who will wait and be lazy and let their mom and dad drive them around till they're 18 or 19, dude, they're not attracting at least as many people as they could. And it's something that I respect actually in the area that I'm in, where people like take driving and the freedom that comes with it very seriously. Like, it's not taken for granted. Everyone wants to get out of the house, drive, interact with people, and like be in control of their own schedule and where they go. That's something that suburban kids completely take for granted because they have a mom and dad in the house and, they're chill. And speaking of which, actually, let's get into the mom and dad in the house and the impression that creates. So when you're in suburbia, violence and aggression is a way to solve problems the way that it is where I live. It's not attractive at all. I believe intelligence and having really measured words, being able to de-escalate, is far more attractive. Why? I think instinctually, like people, so men and women, but we'll talk about romantically right now. Like women especially, they want to be protected by their man, by their partner, right? Makes sense. Now, how does protection work versus in the suburbs versus more in the hood? I'll just say in the hood. Again, we talked about protection in the hood. It works with like you're affiliated with a larger group of people. You possibly have weapons or weapons training or more physical knowledge. Things like that. Or again, you just have a really loud voice and you're just physically intimidating. In the suburbs, right, that's not gonna fly. Nope. And that's because people have like good role models in their house, or people have very chill, demure role models in their house, right? Very few people in the suburbs where I grew up with had dads that were like very aggressive, noisy, fighting. No, they were all very chill. They'd invite you into the house and, it's all really chill. Like, these are the role models that, girls look up to, right? So in their house. So you want to actually have de-escalation tactics. And again, that's also protecting your woman, right? Like, if someone threatens you guys and you're able to de-escalate, that is very attractive because A, it shows that you're intelligent, you have a way with words, and B, of course, that means you can protect people. Now, how has this worked in real life? Now, when I was in Canada, I actually had I knew he was drunk. Maybe he was homeless, I don't know. This happened freshman year of college. I was with two girls from Model UN conference at the time. We were walking at night in Toronto, it was, because the conference was in Toronto. And yeah, a guy staggered towards us and he was coming at us and he was shouting things at us. Again, it was many years back, so I forget what he was shouting at, but it was possibly sexually suggestive things. And I went up to him. So I had the two girls walk ahead of me. I went back, I stayed back and went up to him. And I started, shouting certain things at him and de-escalating the situation. Yo, what the fuck is wrong with you? You gotta chill, all this stuff. I was shouting. And I kind of had to, match fire with fire, so I wasn't talking him in this soft tone, hey, do you need a glass of water or something? No, I was de-escalating, but in my own way. I went back to those girls. That guy ran off. I didn't lay a finger on him. He didn't lay a finger on me. And they were really happy. They literally said, and again, we were freshmen in college, so people tend to say things, but they literally said, "Oh my God, you saved me! You saved us! Holy cow!" And again, I was the man of the hour. So, again, conflict de-escalation and the intelligence that signals is really important. So speaking of intelligence, if you're in the suburbs, working on your intelligence is really important, honestly. There were guys that no matter how chopped you look, I don't care if you were fine, you were chopped, you were whatever, if you were intelligent, girls wanted to study with you, guys wanted to study with you, girls and guys wanted to get your study guides, your notes. You were, again, very reliable. If you are intelligent, people can rely on you in an academic setting. And again, I've been in school most of my life, so that's what I can mainly speak on. But of course, in the workplace too, like in a corporate environment, if you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, again, very attractive. So just keep that in mind. Working on your intelligence, again, specific to wherever you are. So if it's a specific major you're doing in college, if it's a specific course of study you're doing in high school, or a specific workplace knowledge, you should really lock into that. Being reliable and dependable there is very attractive. Now moving on to, again, more dependabilities, the soft skills like cooking, being able to drive, also very attractive. And yeah, I mean, I think that about covers it, to be honest. Really, yeah, I just wanted to focus more on what dependability looks like in different settings across the country. Um, yeah, I love my dad. But yeah, depending on where you are, you should always strive to make it out of where you are and go to even better places. But I'm just talking about simple attraction, what's going to attract people, whether it's conflict de-escalation, intelligence, and a way with words, or looking tough and just playing the game. I'm just letting y'all know what's the game look like in different areas of the world and how you should best play the game. Anyways, hope that helps. Don't want to ramble on too much anymore, but this is my opinion on what the most attractive trait you can cultivate is and how you can do it, again, based on where you live.